Hey everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of I'll Go If You Go. I'm Emily, your host of Seasons 2, 3, and 4. And with this new season, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to your new host for Season 5, Monica Carcamo-Binetti. She's a founder of Bay Area Gal Ventures and a counselor of Save the Redwoods League. And I think many of you may remember her from Season 3, Episode 2 of this podcast when she was a guest as co-founder of Bay Area Gal Ventures. Hey, Monica. How's it going?
Hey, Emily. I am so excited to be here. This time as a host, super exciting, and not as a guest. It was amazing being a guest and to sit on this other side of it as a host for the first time. I cannot wait to get this season going. But before we do that, I think our listeners might be a little bit curious about what's going on with you. What's next and what's going on in Emily's world as you pass the baton to me to take this over for you.
Yeah, it's been a time of big transition in my life and the world of Emily. I moved from the Bay Area down to Southern California. It's been very exploratory for me in terms of different projects I've been taking on and even just thinking about how I want to structure my life and what I want to be doing. Like, how do I align my pursuit of my passions and my career and really with the values that I'm trying to embody in this world? You know, as the stars would align, I immediately got an opportunity to go shoot on a documentary about beavers as ecosystem engineers. So that was a really cool experience, my first real documentary film shoot out in the field with a really great team. And that project's still in development, so I can't say too much about it now. It was so fun, and it definitely affirmed that shooting video, working on film, documentary projects is a part of my career that I want to develop further. I also have a personal project in the works that I've started shooting on, and it's going to focus on underappreciated and overlooked public lands. And one of the main themes of that is that beauty can be found in unexpected places.
That's amazing. I would say that the work that you put in over the last 3 years with the podcast is a segue into what you're doing now. So exploring that even further. I know that you will be missed by our fellow listeners, but I'm hoping that I can keep the tradition going here and keep the momentum going. I remember being on the podcast as a guest and admiring just how eloquent you are and how well you frame these questions and how you told a story visually, even though people couldn't see what we were saying. And so that now you're transitioning into more of a visual arts that completely makes sense. Super excited for you. I cannot wait to see your work, particularly that beaver documentary. That sounds really interesting.
There is a link to redwoods and California landscapes because one of the big benefits beavers bring to a landscape is that they are ecosystem engineers. And when beavers are present in a landscape, what do beavers do? They dam up a river. When you dam up the river, that makes the water spread out, and so it can sink into the ground. The land can now hold more moisture in that environment. So if a big fire comes through, it's going to mitigate the size of that fire. And also, beavers used to be everywhere in North America, including California. There still are beavers in California, but that one's a fun one. And I was so excited when I heard you were going to be the new host, Monica, because I remembered how much fun it was talking to you on your episode of the podcast.
I'm definitely very excited. And I think that getting to talk about the Redwoods, anytime that I'm with anybody from the league particularly, we can talk about the Redwoods for hours. So I don't fear that I will run out of content or things to discuss. In this episode, we wanted to focus on a couple of different things. And one of them, which is a good segue to what you were just discussing about finding beauty in different things that we do, right? So the outdoors naturally evokes feelings of excitement and peacefulness. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about were just that, the health and well-being, how the redwoods and access to nature has improved your health and well-being.
Oh my gosh, in so many ways and so deeply. Off the top of my head, there is a mental health aspect, which I think maybe is the most obvious one or easiest to understand benefit of spending time out in the redwoods. Nature is so beautiful. So I talked about beauty in unexpected places. Beauty in an expected place, like redwoods, are, so many people call them a gateway species or a gateway natural landscape, because you go to the Redwoods and you see these trees and you're just so struck by their grandness, their beauty.
I agree. I think that it's twofold, right? So you go into nature and then you are thinking ahead of what's that going to be like. I have a regular day job. It's a very busy, very demanding role. And when I step outside of that, I naturally start thinking, what is this going to be like? What is this going to look like? Where am I going to go? How long is it going to be? I wonder what the weather is going to be like. I wonder if it's going to be hot, if it's going to be cold. So all of these thoughts are going through my mind, right? But the second I get out of my car and I can feel the breeze and I can hear the birds and I can see the trees, all of those thoughts are gone. And what I love about being out in nature is that my thoughts just clear naturally. I don't tell myself, hey, thoughts, it's time to clear. Just being there automatically does that for me. And when I'm on a hike and I'm walking, all I'm thinking about is that hike. And all I'm thinking about is that next step and that next step and that next step. I think that's called meditation, right? Like subconsciously, when you just clear your mind of everything else. And the only thing that I have found that I can do that with is the outdoors. And like you, I want to take everybody to the outdoors. Even if your mind is racing on the way there, I have this thought of recording what our conversations are in the car on the way to the hike, and then recording your conversations on your way home from the hike.
Oh, that's cool.
Just the difference that those conversations might feel like, right? Like what you're thinking on the way there and what you're thinking on the way out. I think that nature is helpful for everyone, regardless of what you're going through in life. And particularly, I think the Redwoods, they are the ultimate nature influencer. What do you think about that?
I think that's a really fun idea. Redwoods are such a character in their ecosystems. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who goes to the Redwoods and doesn't feel influenced by their presence, by the way they look, by the way they smell, by the way it feels to stand next to a living being of such a different makeup and way of life than us. I think I've talked about this on this podcast before, but the first time I ever felt the sentience or really understood the life force of another plant was when I was standing next to a giant sequoia tree, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I've never swam with a whale before, but I was thinking this is probably what it feels like to swim next to a whale and look into a whale's eye and have the whale look back at you. It's I just felt that with the tree. I mean, hardcore influenced. It was so cool.
That's a really good analogy with the whales. One of the gals I was on a hike with, we came across a giant, what are they called? A nursing log. And she said, this is like a whale, laying on the ocean floor, swimming on the ocean floor. And she said it so eloquently. I wish I could remember exactly how she said it, but we were all on the hike and we were like, wow, that is so true, because where else could you see something so giant and so old, right? That has been through so many things. It really puts perspective, even though they can't speak to us in a normal way that we're accustomed to communicating. They say so much without having the ability to talk to us. And you could just feel that. I don't think I've ever been on a hike and after I got done with it in a redwood forest and said to myself, man, I really regretted that. I think it's important to talk about protecting the redwoods. And how do you think that protecting the natural areas like the redwoods through park establishment contribute to community well-being?
It's so important. In order for people to be influenced by the redwoods, they have to have access to them. And I think so many things in life, when you experience something in community with people that you care about, you become part of something bigger than yourself. When I go out into nature, even if I'm just alone, I feel like I connect with the landscape and I feel connected to this bigger thing than myself, which is the natural world, the world around us. But when you do that with fellow people, it's just, you can do that in a way that feels safe, that feels welcoming, that feels fun and joyful. And there really is something to sharing joy with your fellow human beings. Or even, it doesn't have to be joy, sharing whatever emotions. Nature can be a container for all of that. And it can be the redwoods are such a beautiful, supportive container for just experiencing humanity. And I think part of that is because of their size, their grandeur. A lot of people on the podcast, including in your episode, I remember Erin mentioned this, but you go to the Redwoods and you know that they've been there. If you go to the old growth, they've been there for thousands of years. You know what they've been through. If you see a burn scar, they've been through fires. You know the history of the lands, that they've seen come and go. Yeah, there's just a feeling of sense. There's a feeling of peace and also of safety, at least for me, just knowing that life happens. The Redwoods were here and they're still here and they're going to be here. So I think it's really important to be able to provide access to that for communities, but not only in just the establishment of the parks, but also helping people, maybe if there's transportation or maybe it's whatever it is, bringing people to these parks so that communities can connect with these Redwoods. And not just for the community's health too, but the Redwoods need people to care about them. And so the more different communities, the more number of people and the more number of different kinds of communities can come and care about the Redwoods, the better their prospects for continuing into the future. So I think it goes both ways.
Totally. I think that you care about what you love. And I think that comes organically after a certain point. Somebody at an event that I was at last weekend said, imagine if somebody said to you, okay, Monica, that was it. No more hiking. It's over. Let's just go back to how your life was before you started hiking. And I was like, what a great thought to have, because I couldn't do it. This is a lifestyle choice for me. This is something that is part of who I am, as is ensuring that we're protecting the Redwoods. It's not something that I necessarily feel that I have to try to do. I feel that it's something that is just organically part of who I am now, that I will do what I can to keep this going, not just for myself, but for future generations, because the benefits of it are so great, not just to us individually, but just in the planet itself it's necessary for us to ensure that we keep the forests protected. So what has the Redwoods taught you about life?
I'm trying to think of something that isn't super cliche, because I've asked a lot of people that on this podcast. Okay, well, the first thing that comes to mind is that life goes on. I was going to say everything's going to be okay, but you know what? Sometimes it's not, but then life goes on and then it is again.
There's a tree that I visit frequently at the Avenue of the Giants, and I call it my tree, which is whatever, it's everybody's tree, but I feel like I have a connection with this tree. And the reason for that is because this tree, when you park and you walk over to it, is gorgeous. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful trees. It's very pristine. When you walk around the circumference of the tree, you will find that it has a really big burn mark on it. And I love that, because the first time that I saw it, I thought, wow, look at this perfect, beautiful tree. But it was scarred, and yet it still stood. And that's how people are, and life, right? You can see it just from one angle. You don't know the full story until you walk all the way around. And that's how I think that Redwoods teach me about life.
I love that, the way you said that. The whole thing about the story, a tree isn't just an object. A tree is it's a living being with a story. And sometimes you don't know the full story till you walk around. That's cool.
What is next for us this season? We talked a little bit about this, and I brought up that the Redwoods were the ultimate nature influencer. And that is the theme of season 5. And we're going to be exploring what that looks like and what that means. So not just an influencer in the way that you think of, how does it influence how we protect them? How does it influence us individually? How does it influence the community in the Bay Area and beyond? What does the Redwoods influence within us? And with communities that maybe don't have access to the Redwoods yet, how can we influence for that to be something that changes and that is different? So in season 5, we're going to be talking about what that's going to look like. And I'm excited to take the baton from you, Emily, and carry this on for season 5.
I'm so excited to listen along and get to appreciate this podcast as a listener. I had such a fun time talking to you on your episode in season 3 and to all the exciting guests that are lined up.
As a parting thought, Emily, what advice do you have for me taking this on for this new season?
That's a great question. I think so it's going to be something that I know you're already great at, which is just to be open to conversation. When putting together this podcast, there's of course research that goes into like the background of the guests and their experience, and then developing questions that might be interesting, things that we might want to share with listeners, but also it's just being open to whatever comes up in conversation, and I guess it's more fun that way too.
Just have it be an organic conversation as much as possible. I appreciate that advice and I will take it with me because, as mentioned, I've never done this before. I am a professional talker by nature, but I do think that structuring a conversation and stepping outside of it and being a host, that will come with time. So I appreciate you being my very first guest. I will always remember my first episode with you, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor to pass the baton on to you.
Pass the baton, but you're not gone. Is that a cute rhyme I just made? Pass the baton and you're not gone, Emily. You will always be part of I'll Go If You Go and part of the league. So I look forward to when our paths cross again on the hiking trails or beyond. Before I sign off, I've got something exciting to share about our next episode. I'll be heading out to Samuel P. Taylor Park for the very first time and would love for you to join me. I'll be there on June 11th as we kick off California State Parks Week. This is a week-long free celebration happening in over 170 parks across the state. While I'm there, I'll be chatting with folks about what makes this park special to them and what they hope others experience when they visit. You can find all the details at castateparksweek.org. Come meet me under the Redwoods, embrace the outdoors, and be part of the celebration. Hope to see y'all there. Thanks for joining us on I'll Go If You Go, a Save the Redwoods League podcast. This season is produced by Leslie Parra and hosted by Monica Carcamo-Binetti. Edited and sound engineered by Matt Cardona at C-Wave Media. Thank you to Mary McFeely and Caleb Castle for graphic design and media support, and to Adam Kaplan for tech support. Theme song and music by New Nguyen and Annie Fang. You can find seasons 1 through 4 wherever you listen to podcasts or on SaveTheRedwoods.org, where you can also find transcripts of each episode. If you like our show, please rate and review. It helps more people find us and join in on the conversation. For behind the scenes and bonus content, follow us on Instagram at I'll Go If You Go Pod. If you have comments or questions, you can email us at outreach@savetheredwoods.org. We'd love to hear from you and maybe even share your comments on the podcast. I look forward to when our paths cross again on the hiking trails and beyond.